All right. So welcome, Iris. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am brand new to the stock market. That's first and foremost, most important for everybody out there. I am a former pharmacist. I was a pharmacist for almost 20 years. I retired from pharmacy in 2014 and am now in real estate and learning the stock market.
Oh, okay. Great, great,
Mhm.
great. So now that you retired and you're doing real estate in the stock market, what drew you to wanting to be involved with the stock market?
Um, so I've always been interested in learning about the stock market, but never knew where to kind of go for information and that sort of thing. But one of the things that I said to myself when I was a pharmacist was, if I could work as hard as I felt I could work and be compensated for it versus just working as hard as I'm working and everyone's getting the same compensation, I'm sure I'd be a happier person. And so, and so it was just easy to, once I started learning about the stock market and started seeing the possibilities in the stock market, to take it really serious and really approach it like a business, like any other business, and get the education that I felt I was lacking. I went through a few different courses. Um, Prior to finding the profit room. And for somebody who doesn't know the stock market at all, those courses were, in my opinion, they were good courses for you to learn a strategy, but you weren't getting a complete education so that you can then go off and figure out who you are in the stock market. And for me, that was important because I felt like I was all over the place because I was learning so many different things and trying to apply all the different things at once. And it was just trying to fine tune it down to one, to kind of direct my journey.
When did you start your process of actually
No.
like taking courses? Like was it
March
2020 or
of
2021?
2020.
Oh, March of 2020. So kind of like around the COVID effect, correct?
It
Ah,
was due to a canceled vacation. And I
ah,
said, if I cancel this vacation, as opposed to spending this money on the vacation, I'm going to put it into this course. So that was actually a blessing in disguise because it started my journey. And although I feel like I ended in the right place, I think it was a journey that I had to go through, going through the different courses and kind of feeling my way through, not knowing anything. But
right.
it made it a bumpy journey because there were so many blank spaces that were left in the other courses that it's like I always knew there was something missing, but I didn't know what to ask or what was missing. And so when I came to the profit room, it's kind of like all those blanks got filled in almost day one. Almost day one, they got filled in, and then it just kept getting filled in little by little. And so things start to click. Like I have a very kind of literal brain. It's like probably 80% literal, 20% artistic. So I had to meld the two together. Yeah. And so the profit room really helped with that, with like filling in the gray spaces.
Got you, got you. So for anybody that's new or thinking about trading or investing, do you think it's hard? What's the most difficult thing about coming into this? Because you're very successful at, your career. You also mentioned real estate. That takes a form of knowledge to understand that 100%. Now diving into the stock market and the different markets we're going to talk about as well. How is that difficult for the average person? What do you think is the biggest obstacle for someone to really understand getting into that?
Um, I mean, I'm just a novice, but if I had to say, I really think it's discipline. I really think it's discipline and application, like really applying yourself. And you have to be self motivated. You have to, like for me, I know it was a little bit easier because it was during a pandemic that I started my journey. So there weren't a lot of places to go in the first place. But you do have to, I think, you have to know that you have to give up certain things in order to get to a certain place. Like I spend most of my time learning something. Like I need to be learning something because there's so much to learn. And I just have kind of like the mindset that once you learn it, you now know it, and then you can move on about your life. But you do have to put in the time now. So I think discipline to really apply. I think some folks just think that if they join this group or join that group, they're going to be successful and they're going to make it. I actually had to turn all that down. That was all just a bunch of noise for me.
Now, what would you say to any beginner that, you know, went through your similar experience of taking a program, having holes, but now they're not motivated to continue because they felt like maybe it doesn't work after all? What would you say to that person?
Because I kind of experienced, I mean, I didn't experience it to the point where I wanted to quit, but I had those moments where I went through like, is this for me? Is this too much? Does it move too fast? Is this or that? I just tell everybody who asks me about it, it's kind of like learning a language, and it's really, really hard. It's really, really challenging at times. You kind of feel like I'll never get this. And then one day it all just clicks. And then you keep adding and adding and adding, but you have to keep coming back to the material. Like I have material that I've come back. I still go back to the first videos that I've gotten from you guys. So I have material that I go back to all the time, because the more you hear it, the more things will click. You'll catch something that you didn't catch before, and you'll say, that makes sense. Okay, now I can move on from here. So I would just say, just stick with it. I mean, I'm always like, well, what's the alternative? like what, you know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you stick with something like this? Like I think of people who go to work and will stick with that job like their life depends on it, because oftentimes it does. Well, I'm looking at this the same way.
Gotcha. No, yeah. and that makes sense, because I'm glad you mentioned that part where you just put away all the noise and just focus, because that's what I was asking that's what I was trying to compare to, like a career, real estate. Usually a lot of professions or investments, we're looking for as much information as possible. Part of a lot of real estate clubs, the RIAs, the meetings. So now you're getting comps, getting ideas on wholesaling, short sales, landlords, Airbnb, right? But when you're coming to trading, it's more about you versus the market, because all these other opinions now are affecting your process of buying and also selling.
Absolutely.
So that's what I was saying. We get a lot of professionals like yourself who do come into this field and they sit back like, oh, this is a little bit different than what I thought, because that's the one thing about trading. It doesn't matter what type of education you have in the prior or how advanced you are. Like you said, as long as you can zone in on your own and have that narrow focus, you build up that confidence in order to continuously trade. So another question to you: what markets are you trading right now, or do you know how to trade since you've been with us at the Profit Room?
So as of Friday evening, I labeled myself a futures trader.
Okay. Welcome to the dark side. Gotcha.
Friday evening, I went to my husband and I said, babe, I'm labeling myself, because I said I didn't want to do that before. I am a futures trader. Why did I do that? I did that because, again, it's a lot of information. I want to apply all of the information all at the same time. And what happens? You don't apply any of it. So you just, for me anyway, this is my new journey. For me, I am a futures trader until I say otherwise. And why? Because I love the futures trading. I love the pace of it. I love the in and out of it. And I feel like you're learning the overall market when you're focusing on futures. So I just and I'm good at it. So I was like, let me just stick with what I'm good at, and then eventually I'll get even better at the other things, but I had to kind of reevaluate my own situation And because that's the other thing you get from all these groups. You hear a lot of people, they're ready to do anything and jump off the building and yada, yada, and all this stuff. And it's like, well, I'm not in the same position as, maybe this person or that person when they made that decision. So again, I had to just shut down all the noise and just evaluate my own life and figure out what's going to work for me and what I'm trying to get out of the market. And so for right now, futures is providing.
Correct. See, and that's great because even though you went through the course and you know the stocks and you know the options, you know the futures, like Iris is in our Mastermind program, that's a mature statement that she's actually saying. Because it's not that she can't trade those other markets. You have to go where they say the money resides, where you're consistent. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we have students all the time in your same situation. They say, hey, I'm doing well in trading the stocks, the underlying stock. I'm doing extremely well. Should I be trading futures now? Should I be trading options now? Should I be trading Forex? So, okay, you know how to trade it, but what are you hitting the average best at? You feel comfortable with that? Stick with that. Because so we have some students, like when we're day trading, I like to day trade the underlying stocks because I like to see the spread a little bit better. It's a little bit more controlling for me, blase, right? But it's working for me the same way with somebody with options. But like you said, if you see futures and you're in that movement and that groove, and me and you both know futures, we love futures. Futures is very forgiving. You can make your money back faster and you can make it quick and go about your business. So the fact that, you see the consistency with that. And for everybody who doesn't know, futures is the commodity markets. You could trade oil, gas, lean hog, soybean. And like Iris mentioned, you're actually more connected to the economy. You know what's actually going on, throughout different times throughout the country and things of that nature. And you can see that ahead of the stock market. Very advanced market, and not too many people you see trade futures as much, on a level that, what Iris is actually doing. So, which is incredibly great. Another question I would say, ask you, what is your plans? What do you see yourself doing with trading, investing like that? I mean, I know you're established, you have careers, real estate, things of that nature. What are you looking for more from, trading and stuff like that?
In like long term, you mean?
Yeah, long term or short term, whatever comes to mind.
Well, that keeps changing every day. So I'll tell you my answer today. So my plan was to use profits from futures to get into lead positions. I am rethinking.
Which is good.
You're rethinking that. Hey.
Okay. I am rethinking that. And that's why I had a plan last week. But like I said, Friday, I just relabeled myself. And moving forward, the plan is still getting tweaked. So the initial plan was to profits from futures into long-term leaps. The market's just been so crazy. And like I said, I'm new. I started trading last year during the pandemic, which we all know what that market did. And so it was up and down and all around. And like I said, I had to reevaluate myself and ask myself, why am I getting jerked around like this? Why am I throwing myself in that ring? So that being said, right now we're just focusing on our real estate and then just focusing on learning how to make more money. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Oh, that's great. No, there's nothing wrong with that. Because that's what we like to tell people too in general. The market's not going anywhere. And the thing is, the skill that you possess, you know how to make money when the stock market goes up, and you know how to make money when the stock market goes down. And as a trader and an investor, the whole goal is actually to pull money out of the market on a consistent basis. Many of us right here are trading and investing. We just want to make sure that we're making consistent profits, right? We want to make sure that we're making consistent profits on a day-to-day. then like you said, you could take that money and do whatever you want with it. Like you said, you may decide leaps, you decide real estate, decide something else, but whatever it is, right, that's up to you. It's a personal decision. So nothing's wrong with that.
Right. And I mean, I'm not opposed to leaps and stuff, but it's just like that. I just have to, because again, all of this stuff is new. So it's just a matter of kind of fine tuning all of that stuff.
Yeah,
finding the
that's what I'm saying. That you have to feel comfortable.
Fine tuning and as well as sticking to the data. I think the data is extremely important. So the only thing I'll say about the long-term leaps, you just got to look at the data, look at the past 12 years of history in the direction we've been going. And if you feel that there's a moment in time we might correct in terms of the market, is it a time for long-term leaps, or can you get a better entry point? And all of that is through data, as well as, you know how to read the charts now, even better. So you have the power to make that decision, which is extremely important.
So important. I mean, it's honestly, I don't know how I was trading without this skill. Like, I just feel like I got lucky learning what I learned during 2020, because 2020 was pretty forgiving. So I think I got lucky during that year, not having found you guys yet. And so I found you guys right when I needed you, because I was like, let me go get some education so that I don't end up in these positions, because I wasn't understanding the up, down. That didn't make any sense to somebody like me. So I was like, let me go get educated so that I'm not relying on anybody else's information, and I don't have to call LaToya or Ernest or anyone to say, do this or do that. But I tell you guys all the time, your voices stay in my head, because LaToya's like, well, no, why did you take that position? Why did you enter? And I'm like, so anytime I get into a stock now, it's like, well, why am I getting in? And then to Ernest's point, when you see the money, take the money, don't get hurt. And so I have been pretty successful with those two kind of, in my ear.
And that's the power that you have, because that's why I always tell people, take the money. That's the hardest thing for a trader. Like today, I was in queue, short. That thing dropped. I saw about 1,200, then it popped back up to like 400. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Because I was like, just close it, because it's been choppy. There's no real follow through. But that's what I'm saying. I could have just exited out the position. But that's why I always preach what I struggle with, because it's not like you can't do it the next day.
Exactly.
You have the power to do it the next day. So that's where a lot of traders who are not educated, they need that big win. They need that huge win all the time. But if you can consistently make a couple hundred here, 5-10 minutes, go on your life here and there, boom, boom, boom. And that's where the noise comes away, because like I always say, what you eat won't make me fat, and vice versa. Right. So you got all these people telling you they made all this amount of money, but you got your little happy home, your family, your real estate business, everything in that. If you took a couple hundred, 500, 300, 400, 500 in about 5 minutes or so, that's okay, honey, let's go. You go enjoy your life. You don't got to be compared to nobody else. And that's the hardest thing people don't realize, is to pull money out the market.
Right.
On a consistent basis. There's people making $200, $300 a day, 8-9 hours a day, lunch, going back and forth to work.
Exactly.
And you have the power to pull some of that.
Exactly.
So one of those things.
Exactly. And like I said, like, I just, to everybody who's out there, I just feel like you get rewarded for the time you put in. And I've been working for somebody else for my whole life. So it's like, to be able to produce this type of income and do it from the comfort of your own home without having anybody over you to tell you when or how or what or anything like that. I just try to encourage everybody to at least see what it's about. Even if you don't like make it a business, at least see what it's about. Like, because to your point, even if you can get $200-300 a day, a week, even, I think for a lot of people, it's worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. always, small goals, they add up over time. So the confidence comes when you keep seeing consistency, and then you're able to add more to a position, right? Increase your goal over time. But that's a nice, comfortable number. 200 to 300 bucks is very comfortable, because when you think about the average pay, the time to commute to work, if someone has to commute, dealing with, the higher ups or whatever headaches that's involved with the typical job, when you're just you against, the markets, in a sense, it's just you and the markets, you and your thought process, and you're just like, you're in control. In other words, you're in control, and that's where that discipline factor is very important. So
discipline and patience. Discipline and patience have been the two main things. The discipline part hasn't been an issue. The patience part had been an issue for me, but I'm getting so much better with patience, because I see how much patience actually pays off, waiting for that right spot. I'd get up in the morning and I just wanted to make a trade. I just wanted to get in the market, and it's like, sometimes it's like really analyzing and waiting for your pickup spot. And it just works out beautifully. So, and to your point, like once I gain the confidence and then I can start adding contracts to it, it's just a game changer.
Yeah, definitely. Just little by little by little.
Yeah, it's just a game changer.
That's to tell everybody, the market's not going nowhere. The market's not going over there. We'll be here. All right, Iris. No, we appreciate that. We don't want to hold you up. We just wanted to have this little quick interview to have everybody share your experience. We appreciate that you set aside time, because when we have these interviews, people always find themselves in other people, the journey, and the fact that it's amazing how, COVID has changed a lot of people's lives, even for the good, even though it's a lot of death behind it, but it just shifted a lot of people's mindsets on what they can actually do. And
absolutely,
which is great. It's amazing when we get forced to stay at home, what we can make our brains able to do instead of just going on with life and, doing other things. So I appreciate it. I don't know if you have any last words you wanted to mention, Latoya, before we wrap up.
Nope. I'll ask Iris if she has any last words on her behalf.
I guess, like to anybody who's out there watching, like I watched every single student success interview that you guys did before.
Like a lot of students.
Before I joined. And I promise you guys, if anybody is out there debating if it makes sense, debating if they should spend the money, it is the best capital I've ever put to work, ever. So like I have no regrets, no doubts, no anything. And if you don't know anything, like just come and learn the market structure and let them teach you about the candlesticks and technical analysis. And I promise you'll be successful.
All right.
Thank
you so much. Really appreciate that.
All right, you guys.
Like you said, like tell everybody, get educated and trade safe. And we'll see you guys at the proper room.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.